Hello.
Hi, Brad.
Howdy.
How you doing?
Not too bad. How are you?
I'm doing good. So I guess I should get this thing started. Hi, my name's Ed Conway, and my guest today is the hilariously talented Brad Sherwood. He may be best known for his regular appearances on the improvisational contest show, and I use the word contest very loosely. Whose line is it anyway? And he'll be making an appearance on March 27th at Proctors Theatre with his partner, Colin Mochrie. And how are you, Brad?
Not too bad. Thanks, Ed.
So, for the cliche question, as a young kid, were you always trying to make your friends laugh? Class clown?
Yeah, I liked making people laugh. I was an only child and moved around a lot. So that was my way of getting people to like me, was to sort of have a funny personality. I was in Mad Magazine and I watched TV all the time since I was an only child. So I gravitated towards sitcoms and like the Andy Griffith Show and the Honeymooners and just yeah. So I always liked
Um,
making people laugh and I always liked laughing. So
oh, nice. Yeah. I was an only child and I moved around a lot, so
yeah.
I understand completely.
Yeah, you either become sort of recluse or you become outgoing, and so then your options are to become a someone in comedy or a serial killer. So I chose both.
Yeah, I'm somewhere in the middle. Okay, so on your show at Proctor's, what can we expect to see?
Well, it's all improvised. So we play some things that'll be reminiscent of some of the games that people have seen on Who's Line, like the sound effects game or moving bodies. But we've, over the years, sort of tried to figure out a way to bring the audience into as many of the games that we play as possible. Generally, on Who's Line, it's usually two performers and the host is calling the shots, or one of the other players is sort of running them through their paces. But we like to hand that power to the audience and make them call the shots or have them finish our sentences and move us around. And so it's all about involving them even more than they would be on Who's Line. On Who's Line, it's like give us a suggestion at the beginning of the thing, and then we just sort of run with it. But in this, we want it to be more constantly interactive.
Ah, I see. So, did you ever do stand up or were you right to improv?
I did stand up twice in college and it just wasn't for me. It, ironically, most people are like, how do you even think of doing improv? That would terrify me. And stand up terrifies me way more than doing improv.
Yeah, I always kind of thought of improv as you gotta have, well, if you gotta have a quick mind, that
Yeah.
kind of scares me.
Yeah, well, it's just the funny version of how we all work regularly. I mean, every conversation you have is improvised and everything you do basically as you go through your day is improvising to avoid being run over by a bus, to not hit the car in front of you, to not offend people when you're out talking in public. So and you never know what's going to happen, even when you go to work with a bunch of people and you do the same thing every day, you're still having different conversations. So your whole life is truly improvised.
Yeah, that's never really looked at it that way, but yeah,
Yeah.
I can see
Yeah.
that.
Even if you work on a machine line in a auto factory doing the same thing every moment of the workday, every other aspect of your day is kind of played by ear.
So one of the things I've read about that's important about improv is trusting your partner. And I know you've worked with Colin for over 20 years. So you must feel that trust mutually, I would assume. But do you ever try to make each other laugh, or does it just kind of happen naturally? I can't imagine not expecting an answer coming back.
Yeah, no, well, we do that nonstop. Our goal, I think, is really more to embarrass each other and try and make each other laugh more than it is even the audience. I think if that's our goal, they're going to laugh anyway. We've been doing this for so many decades. He and I have performed together now for over like 33, 34 years,
Oh,
between doing Who's Line over the years and our live tours. So, we implicitly trust each other, but there's something to improv that you want to work with a partner that you know you can trust and who's really good, but you also want to constantly be putting him off his game. Like you don't want to just be someone he thinks he knows what you're going to do. You want to be unpredictable as much as possible. And if you're really a good improviser, you should technically be able to just grab a random person who's done improv once or twice off the street and do a scene with them. Because if you're a real improviser, you're not just there expecting to get great things from another great improviser. You're expecting to get random horrible things from someone who barely knows what they're doing, which is why we like to bring audience members up on stage, because it's like having two great improvisers and one who doesn't know what they're doing. And that kind of really heightens what we do and makes the audience laugh.
Oh, I see. But after all these years, how do you keep things fresh?
Well,
Basically, just
yeah, the way to keep it fresh, is that you don't do the same thing over and over again. So I'm not saying you don't play sound effects. That's a game we play a lot because it's fun, but it's always different. You've got different people on stage. One time you're like, alien sheep herders, and then another time you're a plumber fixing a leaky pipe at the bottom of a volcano. So that keeps it fresh. And we don't have a bunch of pre-planned things that we do in the show. So it's literally like opening night every time we do the show. So that's what keeps it fresh. If you try to truly do improv as a person that's always walking toward the unknown, then it'll always be legitimately improvised and as fresh as possible. It's kind of like being a purist. There are ways to cheat and then kind of be like, oh, we have a bunch of bits. We have a bit here and there, yes, but we don't have like a whole scene that like we kind of just default to and we go through that the whole time.
so just
And
kind of like a starting point then.
yeah, yeah, suggestions from the audience are starting points, and when we're using them in an actual scene through the whole scene, they are constantly putting it off in directions that we have no idea where it's going. So that legitimately always keeps it fresh and improvised and not run of the mill for us.
Hmm. So I know you've been to Proctor's a few times.
Yes, yeah,
So,
we've probably been there maybe 8 times over the years.
oh, nice.
Yeah.
So what's your impression of Proctor's and basically the Capital District area in general? I don't,
Proctors is a beautiful theater. I mean, I love the way it looks on the inside, and they sort of saved the interior of the building, even though a lot of the outside got sort of renewed and renovated and all that. And over the years, we kind of drive in early morning or day of show, check into a hotel, and then go to our sound check. So we haven't done a lot of exploration in Schenectady, as it were, but really nowhere. One of the things we're doing now in our show is at the end of the show, we kind of do a thing that's almost like a musical of the town we're in. And we preface that by saying, we've been here a couple times, but we don't know anything about the town. And then we get a bunch of information from the audience about their town. And so we'll do that about Schenectady. Because yeah, we come in, we do the show, and usually we leave at 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning to go to an airport to go to the next show. So we don't get a lot of downtime in the specific town to even learn a whole lot about its, vibe and what the fun things are to do there or any of the history.
I see. So I know one of the times you came to Proctor's, there was an after party at a rooftop bar across the street. And I remember how nice you and Colin were. My wife and I happened to be there. So I just wanted to mention we had a great time and thank you for that. But now for a different area. I hear you're a singer as well. What style of music do you enjoy?
God, the boring answer is I like so many styles of music. Like when I was a kid in high school, I was into everything from like Van Halen to Motley Crue, to Leonard Skinner to even Iron Maiden, So like I was really a rock kid, but I also was really into sort of easier listening folk. So I was into Neil Diamond, James Taylor, Cat Stevens, Jim Croce. I loved the songwriter guys that just stripped it down and just had their sadness and a guitar and wrote songs. So I liked that. And then, in the early 80s, I got into new wave. So it's like the Cars and everything. And, over the years, I like hip hop, Eminem. So the boring answer is I like a lot of different musics, and I've always been sort of a curious person by nature, and liking a lot of different musical styles has helped me as an improviser because I have to do a lot of different song styles, like on Whose Line, and so
Yeah.
yeah. And I've been going to a lot of concerts lately, sort of bucket list shows, because I live in Vegas, so I get to
Oh,
see a lot of bands come through town. I just saw Chicago the other night,
hmm.
and saw the Eagles at the Sphere.
Oh,
So
nice.
I've been seeing a lot of the old classics, Earth, Wind, and Fire, Heart. Yeah, it's been really fun to revisit them. Foreigner. It's just so Styx. Like I've seen all those in the last 2.5 years. Rolling Stones. So, and a lot of them I had never seen back in the day in high school. So
Yeah, I've never seen Rolling Stones either.
yeah,
I
first
had
time.
tick.
First, yeah.
I still have yet to see Earth, Wind, and Fire. I had tickets and they canceled the show.
And Earth, Wind, and Fire comes through Vegas a lot. So they do like 6 shows here over the course of a week or two.
Oh, nice.
So that's the good thing is if you see a band that you really want to see and you have the ability and time to go see them when they're in Vegas, then you get like an option of about 6 shows as opposed to, oh, they're coming through, uh, you know, upstate New York and they're only going to be there for one night at one of
Hmm.
maybe the casinos or something. So
Yeah, I'm
I
actually going to
recommend.
be in Vegas for a music festival in about 5 weeks.
There
I
you
don't know if you,
go.
I don't know if you've heard of Viva Las Vegas Music Festival. It's
For
at
some
the
reason,
Orleans.
that sounds familiar. What is it? Is it sort of throwback, sort of,
Yep,
like
kind
Frank
of
Sinatra, Tom
rockabilly.
Jones? Oh, okay.
I mean it,
Gotcha.
but it's also modern rockabilly, not just
Oh,
old
great, great,
stuff.
great.
So, yeah, I'm the same way. I'd love all kinds of. I can find something to like in everything I listen to.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to hold you up too much. Is there anything else you'd like to mention about your upcoming show, which just happens to be March 27th at 7:30?
Yeah, well, we have, Colin and I have been touring together for 23 years, just doing our two-man show. And except for when we had to stop down for COVID, we've toured every single year, unlike a stand-up who has to come up with a whole new set and sort of does a tour and then goes into hiding for a year or two and then comes back. We've been fortunate enough to tour for that whole time. And a lot of people have come to see us like every time we come to their town because the show is different every time. You could come if we had 2 shows in one night. You could see the first show and then stay for the second show, and it would be totally different. The running order of the games we play would be the same, but the whole content is totally different. So the only things you would see would be similar would be the intros and the setups to the actual scenes. So that has helped us be able to do it for 23 years, is that we make a great, fun, hilarious evening. And then when we come back in a year and a half or 2 or 3 years to that town again, people can come see it. And it's not like, oh, we already saw them. You know,
Right.
if you go to see like Jeff Foxworthy or something, or Jeff Dunham, the
Yep.
ventriloquist. If you've seen his main show, it probably isn't going to change much over the course of 8 years. Nothing wrong with that. But our show
Yeah.
is literally different, 2 in a row. It's custom made for that audience, that moment, and that night, and then the next one you see is not going to be the same show.
I know we've had a lot of fun doing it in the past or seeing the show in the past. And I always loved Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah, it was it's a fun show. Who knows? It may come back again. We've been on 4 different incarnations. We were in the British version that was on Comedy Central here in the States, and then we had the ABC version, and then the CW version. So it could come back yet again. They
Oh,
they had a few new seasons on CW that they edited from past tapings
hmm.
because they overshoot and then they take their favorite stuff for the first episode and then they look back through what's left over. It's like, oh, there's 2 more shows here. And so instead of having us come back to tape, like I just got paid to do 3 shows that were from something we taped 5 years ago.
Hmm.
Yeah, and
Wow.
they found more footage. So I have new shows that have been never seen before that have recently aired uh on the CW. So
So
that's
you go all the way back to Clive then.
Oh yes, I did. I did 3 seasons of the Clive version and was on probably like 12 or 13 shows.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Well,
So
thank you for your time, and I can't wait for your show.
yeah, I'm looking forward. And the thing is also Schenectady is where is sort of the where our touring booking company, Mills Entertainment, who covers a lot of our shows, they are based out of that. So that's why we went actually out. We almost never go out after show, but because they all come to the show and all the employees for Mills Entertainment show up, that's why we end up after that show going out and socializing. That's literally the one place on planet Earth where we go to socialize, other than maybe Vegas if we have a bunch of friends come out. So yeah, so when you said you hung out with us on a rooftop, that we don't do that. It sounds like, oh, every night we go and have a big party. No, that's like the only place we ever do that.
Uh,
So yeah,
Ethan's a good friend of ours.
yes, yeah, he's a good guy.
Yep, yep.
He's our current tour manager, so he travels around with us all over the planet to do the stuff, and he's the best at it. So he's a top notch.
Yep. Well, thank you very much. Like I said, I can't wait to see it again. Unfortunately, it's also a little cold to have another rooftop thing.
Yeah.
Next week's a little chilly.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it's always chilly when we're there. I was wearing a jacket last time we were there, I believe, but I'm cold anywhere because I live in Vegas now, so
Yeah.
I'm like a reptile. I have to bundle up if it goes below 60 degrees.
Yeah, here we're taking off our coats
Yeah,
and wearing t-shirts.
and I grew up in Chicago, so believe me, I used to be a lot hardier than I am now.
Oh, then you'd be used to all the wind we're having lately.
Yes, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks,
I
Ed. It was a
really
pleasure
enjoyed
talking,
this.
and maybe we'll see you at the venue.
Yep. Looking forward to it.
Terrific. Thanks, Ed.
Yep. Thank you.
See you soon.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.